All right, hello. It's me, Citrus. Welcome. Today we're going to be doing 40 minutes of learning C Sharp for the first time. Some of you guys know that I do want to make some video games eventually, so kind of got to learn. So we're going to start with this. I'm going to put some music on and then set a timer for 40 minutes. All right, so it starts off with us writing our first code, just off rip. Okay, so the code that I write will go in here, and then I assume that the output console is like the final product. All right, enter this code exactly as it appears into the editor, huh? All right, console dot write line. I wonder if you have it lowercase, will it work? And then hello world. And the semicolon. Did I do it wrong? Oh, I did it. Hello world. Oh my gosh, dude. They said it, not me. What does this do? Okay, I want to try. If I made this lowercase, would it work? Oh yeah, they did not like a lowercase right line. So it has to be, both of them have to be capital. You know, I was curious. Alright. You might be tempted to select copy and run and skip all the keystrokes. However, there are benefits to typing code yourself. Reinforces memory and understanding. Yeah, I definitely wrote it all out. What if I put a space right here? Seems like it still worked. Yeah. What if I put a space right there? Alright. A space or two didn't really delete anything. Just messing around. We're just having fun here, man. Alright, the run button performs two tasks. Compiles your code into an executable format that a computer can understand. It runs your compiled application and when run correctly will output hello world. Interesting. In the output console, observe the result of your code. You should get the following output. What to do if you get an error message. Writing C# code is an exercise in precision. If you type one character incorrectly, you'll get an error message in the output area when you run the code. For example, if you were to incorrectly enter a lowercase c into the word console like so, oh, it freaking talks about it. You get the following error message. The name console does not exist in the current context. What even is the current context? C# is a case-sensitive language, meaning that the C# compiler considers the words console and console as different as the words cat and dog. Sometimes the error message can be a bit misleading. You need to understand the true reason why the error exists. And that comes through learning more about C# syntax. Similarly, if you use quotation marks to surround the literal string, like so, you get the following error message: too many characters and character literal. You can use the message as a clue as you investigate the problem. But what does the error message mean? What exactly is a character literal? Later you'll learn more about literals of various data types, including character literals. For now, be careful when you're entering code. Alright. Fortunately, errors are never permanent. You merely spot an error, fix it, and rerun your code. If you got an error when you ran your code, take a moment to look at it closely, examine each character, and make sure you entered the line of code exactly. The code editor is constantly monitoring the code you write by performing pre-compilation to find potential errors. It will try to help you by adding red squiggly lines underlying the code that will produce an error. Common mistakes new programmers make: entering lowercase instead of capitaling C in console, with the letters W or L in right line, entering a comma instead of a period between console and right line, forgetting to use double quotation marks or use single quotation marks to surround the phrase "Hello World." Oh, so if you don't add these, compilation failed with one error. The name Citrus does not exist in the current context. Line 147. Brother, I only wrote one line. Interesting. Each of these mistakes prevents your code from compiling successfully. The code editor highlights pre-compilation errors. Wait, the code editor highlights I already read that. Never mind. The code editor highlights pre-compilation errors to help you easily identify and correct mistakes as you develop your code. You can think of it like a line spell checker that helps you fix grammar or spelling errors in a document. Assuming you were successful in the previous step, let's continue. Display a new message in this task. You'll comment out the previous line of code, then add new lines of code in the .NET editor to print a new message. Modify the code you wrote so that it's prefixed by a code comment using 2 forward slashes. ¿Qué pasó? You can create a code comment by prefixing a line of code with 2 forward slashes. This prefix instructs the compiler to ignore all the instructions on that line, so it won't type citrus. Code comments are helpful when you're not ready to delete the code yet, but you want to ignore it for now. You can also use code comments to add messages to yourself or others who may later read the code, reminding you of what the code is doing. Add new lines of code to match the following code snippet. Console right line. Wait, it's not a right line. Just console right. I gotta get better at typing in general. Congratulations. spelled that wrong. Congratulations. Dude, I have not typed out these characters in such a long time. Parentheses, quotation marks, semicolon. Like, I type so slow because I never type those out. Console right. Console right, congratulations. So I think it's going to, I don't know what this line is gonna do. So I guess we'll see. This time you should get the following output. Congratulations. You wrote your first line of code. Hey, look at that. So why did... Oh, is this necessary? Ooh, I was about to delete it. But all I have to do is add forward slashes. Oh, it just adds a space? So if I add to... Oh, wait. So that'll give it 2 spaces? Interesting. Well, we did it. The difference between console write and console write line. The 3 new lines of code you added demonstrated the difference between console write line and console write methods. Console write line prints a message to the output console. At the end of the line, it adds a line feed similar... Wait, what? At the end of the line, it has a line feed similar to pressing enter or return to create a new line. I don't understand what that says. Yeah, I don't understand this. Console write line prints a message to the output console. At the end of the line, it adds a line feed similar to pressing enter. Or return to create a new line. Yeah, I don't understand that. To print to the output console, but without adding a line feed at the end. But without adding a line feed at the end. What? Without adding a line feed? I don't even know what that means. To print to the output console, but without adding a line feed at the end. We use the second technique, console write, so that the next call, the console write, prints another message to the same line. Oh, so you're saying that console write line so something is, it's basically saying something is doing this basically. When you press enter, it goes to a new line. I think it's saying console write. So hold on, I just need to, if I put write line, it's gonna put congratulations at the top. And then every time you do write line, it will just add a line. Oh, okay, I get it. Wow, look at that. Press the run button this time, you should get the following output. Oh wait, I wasn't even looking. I like did that just by thinking. Yeah, I like did the same thing on accident. Alright, congratulations, you wrote your first line of code. Dude, we're like professionals now. This code helps demonstrate the difference between the two methods. A new line is appended. The new line is appended. I don't even know what appended means. Appended means to add or attach or affix something as a supplement. Alright. A new line is appended by console write line, and console write prints out the output on the current line. Congratulations on running your first line of code. Dude, that was awesome. Learn how it works. To understand how your code works, you need to step back and think about what a programming language is. Consider how your code communicates commands with the computer. What is a programming language? Programming languages like C# let you write instructions that you want the computer to carry out. I want you guys to know, like, there's a difference between reading and understanding what you're reading. I'm reading slower because I'm trying to understand while reading it out loud. Because usually I would just like read it in my head, but anyway, each programming language has its own syntax. But after learning your first programming language and attempting to learn another one, you'll quickly realize that they share many similar concepts. A programming language job is to allow a human to express their intent in a human readable and understandable way. The instructions you write in a programming language are called source code or just code. Software developers write code. Okay. At this point, a developer can update and change the code, but the computer can't understand the code. The code must first be compiled into a format that the computer can understand. What is a compilation? A special program called a compiler converts your source code into a different format that the computer's central processing unit, or the CPU, can execute. I did not know CPU stood for Central Processing Unit. When you use the run button in the previous unit, the code you wrote was first compiled, then executed. Why does code need to be compiled? Although most programming languages seem cryptic at first, they could be more easily understood by humans than the computer's preferred language. The CPU understands instructions that are expressed by turning thousands or millions of tiny switches either on or off. Compilers bridge these two worlds by translating your human readable instructions into a computer understandable set of instructions. What is a syntax? The rules for writing C#. I'm saying that right? It is called C#. I think it is. I hope it's called C# and not C#. The rules for writing C# code is called syntax. Just like a human language has rules regarding punctuation and sentence structure, computer programming languages also have rules. Those rules define the keywords and operators of C# and how they put together to form programs. When you write code into the .NET editor, you may have noticed subtle changes to the color or different words and symbols. Maybe, I don't know. I guess when I wrote citrus, it did look a little blue, but I don't know if that was just my eyes doing that. When you write code into the .NET editor, they notice subtle changes to the color of different words and symbols. Syntax highlighting is a helpful feature that you'll begin to use to easily spot mistakes in your code that don't conform to the syntax rules of C#. How did your code work? Let's focus on the following line of code you wrote. Hello world. When you ran your code, you saw that the message hello world was printed to the output console. When the phrase is surrounded by double quotation marks in your C# code, it's called a literal string. In other words, you literally wanted the characters HELLO and so on sent to the output. Okay. The console part is called a class. Classes own methods. Sorry, I just yawned. I'm not bored. I think I'm tired, but I did just wake up, so I just yawned just to yawn. The console part is called a class. Classes own methods. Or you could say that methods live inside of a class. To visit the method, you must know which class it's in. To visit a method, you must know which class it's in. For now, think of a class as a way to represent an object. In this case, all of your methods that operate on your output console are defined inside the console class. All the methods that operate on your output console are defined as inside the console class. Oh, okay. Because it all says console right line, or like it all says console, so it's all part of the console class. There's also a dot or period that separates the class name and the method name. Oh, I get it. So console is the class and right line is the method that we used. That period is a member access operator. In other words, the dot is how you navigate from the class to one of its methods. Wow. The right line part is called a method. You can always spot a method because it has a set of parentheses after it. Each method has one job. The right line method is to write a line of data to the output console. The data that's printed is sent in between the opening and closing parentheses as an input parameter. What? The data that is printed is sent in between the opening and closing parentheses as an input parameter. Some methods need input parameters. while others don't. But if you want to invoke a method, you must always use the parentheses after the method's name. You must always use the parentheses after the method's name. The parentheses are known as the method invocation operator. Finally, the semicolon at the end. Oh, the semicolon is the end of statement operator. I was wondering what the semicolon was doing. I wonder what happens if you add another set of parentheses. What will happen? They do not like that. Method name expected. Oh, you expect console write line before this because we didn't have a method before the start. I forget what this is called. What was the parenthesis called? Something, bro. They threw a couple names at me. It's not the period. Each method has one job. If you want to invoke a method, you must always use the parentheses after the method's name. Okay, what if I put console write line right here? Expected when occurrences. So why would this not work? They don't like that I have two console write lines on one line. Oh wait. What if I put a semicolon right here? Now what? Oh. Yeah, because you can't have write line like this method. Like this doesn't make sense to put for the method because the write line is just gonna write these characters. So I just did this and it like confused it. But because I ended it, I can put it on the same line. But I don't know that like why you would care to put it on. I guess it just looks more neat if you put it on a new line. I don't know, I just thought it was interesting to find out. Don't worry if all these ideas and terms don't make sense for now. All you need to remember is that you want to print a message to the output console. That if you want to print a message to the output console, use console write line, your message, capitalize console write in line, use the correct punctuation because it has a special rule in C#. If you make a mistake, just spot it, fix it, and rerun. Create a cheat sheet for yourself until you've memorized certain key commands. I could add like a new notes thing. So console is class, and then the period is like the communicator or something. separates the class name and the method name is the member access operator. Member access operator. And then, right, there's no right line is the method. And then there's, well, it has to be parentheses, right? And then semicolon is the end of statement operator. All right, that's cool. Look at our little cheat sheet, man. We are such cheaters, and we eat pumpkins. All right. If you make a mistake, all right. Understand the flow of execution. It's important to understand the flow of execution. In other words, your code instructions were executed in order, one line at a time, until there were no more instructions to execute. Some instructions will require the CPU to wait before it can continue. Other instructions can be used to change the flow of the execution. Now let's test what you've learned. Each module features a simple challenge, and if you get stuck, you'll be supplied with a solution in the next unit. You get a chance to write some C# on your own. Oh, dude, I'm excited. This is our first test. All right, what is the difference between console write line? Without looking at the answers, console write line is going to write on one continuous line. Console write will make a line underneath the line, so prints the output on a new line. Yeah, that's what it does. Console write appends a new line after the output. Well, that sounds like it makes sense, but console write line, I forget what appends a new line after the output. Because okay, it's one of these for sure. Because it prints the output, which is like, congratulations. It will, yeah, console write line will print this on a new line. So yeah, it's this one. Well, I guess I quit. So console write line prints the output on the existing line and appends a new line after it. So you're basically saying that, wait, console write, okay, so it's not a new line. Okay, well that was 40 minutes. I kind of want to go just a little bit longer. So it's not gonna be on a new line. So this is all considered one line. On the existing line. So it prints, wait, what? Console write prints the output on the existing line. Console write line prints the output on the existing line and appends a new line after it. So these are not separate lines. These are all one line. It's just one line. Bro, that's so confusing. Code challenges throughout these modules will reinforce what you've learned, help you gain some confidence before you continue on. So write code in the C# code editor to display two messages. Select all of the code, press delete or backspace. All right. Write code that produces the following output. This is the first line, this is the second line. That's super easy. So look, you want to first hit him with a console dot write line. Console write line. This is the first message. And then it's super simple. You just want to console write this is the second line. Wait, second. This is the first line. This is the second line. Okay. Console write line, this is the first line. Console write, this is the second line. So if I put console write line and then I put another console write line, what would it do? It would put both of these on the same line. And I kind of want to test that out really quick. I do believe that would happen. Well, let me do it correctly first. So look, this is the first line, this is the second line. I'm a genius. I guess I forgot to add the periods though. It's as easy as this. Alright, that's how we do it correctly. So if I put write line, it'll put it all on the same line, right? Wait, what? Hold on. Wait, why did it put it all? Oh, wait, hold on. Hold the Fortnite. So these are considered two separate lines because I put write line twice. So this makes it so that these are considered one line, right? So console write line. So this is considered one line because they're connected, right? But if I do write line and write line, then these are two separate lines. Do I have that correct? Hope I do. Alright, in the previous unit, you learned how to display a message in just one line of code. And you learned how to display a message using multiple lines of code. Use both techniques for this challenge. It does not matter which technique you use to apply which line. And it doesn't matter how many ways you split one of the messages into multiple lines of code. That's your choice. So you're saying I could have done this. I don't know what the difference would be if I'm being honest. No matter how you do it, your code should produce the specified output. Well, I did it. This is the first line, this is the second line. Let's go. 3 more units, and then I'll end the video. The following code is one possible solution for the challenge from the previous unit. Console write line, this is the first line. This is the second line. Oh yeah, that looks a lot more confusing. What the heck? I get it though. Oh wait. And because you put console right, all right, hold on. If you did this, if you put right line for each of these, I'm just gonna copy and paste. I know they said not to. I just want to figure this out really quick. If you put right line, then it would make this is, and then it's like you're pressing enter the second, and then you press enter line, right? Yeah, it would. It would indeed. So right just makes it so that it's on the same line. I mean, I get it, but I feel like I'm confused at the same time. This code is just one possible solution among many possible ways to achieve the same result. However, you should have used both console write line and console write string methods to produce the desired output. Yeah, I did. Look at that. Uh-oh, module assessment. Lock in, everybody. What is the primary job of the compiler? We are cooked. I forgot. Okay, so the compiler just makes it so that, like, the computer... It'll make a code that the computer can read, right? Converts your code into an executable format the computer can understand. Well, the following statements is true about C#. It's case insensitive. Console is a method. Write line is a class. That's backwards. You use double quotation marks to create a little string. Yes, Cerritos. What is wrong with this line of code? There's no semicolon, dog. Yo! I'm a genius. Hey! Dude, look at us. You know, they say that once you're a certain age, your brain learns less effectively. I call that baloney. Alright. Your goal was to write code in a displayed simple message to an output console while familiarizing yourself with the syntax. You wrote your first lines of code using basic C# syntax. You learned 2 techniques for displaying literal string data to the console. You also learn what to look for when you come across an error in your code. And lastly, you identified C# syntax elements like classes and methods and the purpose of several special symbols that are known as operators. You've taken your first steps towards building more sophisticated applications. Get a free verified certification. Look at that. Microsoft and FreeCodeCamp offer a training and certification combo on the foundations of C#. By completing this Learn module, you've already started. So explore FreeCodeCamp's foundational C# with Microsoft certificate. Wait, so if I click this, do I get a certification off rip? Oh no, you have to Alright, I think this is something that's cool to do, like, eventually. Alright, let's complete that module. Yo, we passed, man. Don't lose your momentum. Dude, I kind of want to keep it pushing, but this right here is for our next video. Dude, that was fun though. What the heck? If you like the video, then like the video. If you want to see more videos like this, you're gonna have to wait because this is my first learning code video. But yeah, dude, I'm not gonna lie, that was kind of fun, and I'm excited to learn more. If you have any tips or tricks or anything like that, you can go ahead and let me know in the comments, because I've definitely had some questions that like confused me a little bit. So if you want to simplify that, let me know. But thank you for watching. Have a marvelous day. This is so awesome. I hope to see all of you again. I love